The year 2006 marked a turning point in the Bionicle saga, as its intricate universe expanded in ways fans had never imagined. At the heart of this chapter lies the Mask of Life, a legendary artifact of immense power. Its ability to save Mata Nui, or doom the universe, placed it at the center of one of the most perilous quests ever undertaken. But before we delve into this chapter, let us recap the events of our last chronicle. We explored the rise of the Toa Metru, 6 courageous Matoran transformed into heroes to protect Metru Nui, the bustling city at the heart of their universe. Their story unfolded amidst the devastating Great Cataclysm, a catastrophic event caused by the Makuta's betrayal of the Great Spirit Mata Nui. Using a virus, the Makuta cast the Great Spirit into a deep slumber, shattering the Matoran universe. In the Great Cataclysm's aftermath, we explored the Toa Metru's desperate fight against the Visorak, a fearsome horde of spider-like creatures that seized control of Metru Nui. Despite being captured and mutated, the Toa Metru managed to rescue the Matoran of the city, leading them to safety on the lush island of Mata Nui. 1,000 years later, we followed the arrival of the Toa Mata on Mata Nui Island. After learning the value of the 3 virtues, unity, duty, and destiny, these 6 elemental warriors confronted the Makuta, who had been terrorizing the Matoran with his monstrous Rahi beasts. Their journey brought them face to face with the Bohrok, a relentless swarm programmed to cleanse the island, and the even more powerful Bohrok-Kal, who sought to undo the Toa's hard-fought victories. As they overcame these threats, the Toa Mata transformed into the Toa Nuva, gaining enhanced powers. But the challenges didn't end there. The Makuta unleashed the Rahkshi, terrifying servants bent on thwarting the Toa's mission to awaken the Great Spirit. Amidst these battles, the Toa of Light, Takanuva, rose to join their ranks, fulfilling an ancient prophecy. In a climactic showdown, Takanuva confronted the Makuta, defeating him in a fierce duel. With Makuta Teridax's fall, the Great Spirit Mata Nui was awakened, casting light back into their universe and bringing hope to the Matoran. Finally, we saw the Matoran, freed from the Makuta's tyranny, begin their journey back to Metru Nui to rebuild their lives and restore their city. But their efforts alone would not be enough. Turaga Dume, studying the heavens, revealed that the Great Spirit's life force was fading, and only one thing could restore it: the Konohi Ignika, the Mask of Life. This ancient and powerful artifact had been hidden for centuries on the distant and treacherous island of Voya Nui, an isolated fragment of land torn from the universe during the Great Cataclysm. In secrecy, the Toa Nuva prepared to embark on their most critical mission yet. Leaving Metru Nui behind, they travelled across unknown seas to reach Voya Nui. The journey was fraught with peril, and the stakes had never been higher. Prepare to follow the Toa Nuva as they journey to the ends of the Bionicle universe, unraveling mysteries, facing impossible odds, and setting the stage for the events that would forever change their world. To understand the Toa Nuva's quest, we must first explore the broader universe, unveiling key events and developments that began to take shape during the 2006 storyline. Up until this point, the events of Bionicle had largely taken place upon the islands of Mata Nui and Metru Nui, with the events occurring outside these regions shrouded in mystery. But with the quest for the Mask of Life, we learn of new locations, historical events, and factions that are of paramount importance to the Bionicle story. As we explored at the conclusion of the last video, the aftermath of the Great Cataclysm and the exodus of the Matoran to the island of Mata Nui marked the beginning of a millennium-long war across the Matoran universe. The Brotherhood of Makuta, once thought to be benevolent protectors of the Matoran, revealed their true nature as a sinister, oppressive force. Their rise to power was met with scattered resistance from various Toa teams, who struck opportunistically whenever a chance arose. Adding to the turmoil, the Dark Hunters, a faction of mercenaries and criminals led by the enigmatic Shadowed One, declared war on the Makuta after Teridax killed 2 of their most effective operatives. Through glimpses provided by books and lore, a vast interconnected world plunged into darkness and conflict is revealed. We also get glimpses of the strange and mysterious nature of the Matoran universe, a world very different to anything we would understand. While Mata Nui and Voya Nui were unique anomalies, existing as real islands beneath a genuine night sky, much like we would recognize. Most islands in the universe were part of an interconnected system of enormous underground caves. These caves were linked by vast rivers, tunnels, and seas, forming a hidden, enclosed network beneath the surface. These islands within the caves formed a labyrinthine expanse that made up the Matoran universe. Among these islands were key strongholds of power. Odina, the stronghold of the Dark Hunters, was a haven for criminals and mercenaries. Destral, the fortress of the Brotherhood of Makuta, was the epicenter of their dark operations. Other islands bore the scars of Makuta domination, such as Visorak, where the spider-like species of the same name were first created to serve as an army for the Brotherhood. The Makuta's influence also extended to polluted industrial hellscapes like Zia, where the Vortex, a cunning and ambitious species, dedicated themselves entirely to the production of weapons and technology. Similarly, Ninra was home to the Ninra ghost weapons manufacturers who helped the Makuta transform into ghost-like entities tens of thousands of years ago. Meanwhile, islands like Stelt, home to physically powerful species such as Sidorax and Krekka's kind, provided a steady supply of operatives for both the Makuta and the Dark Hunters. The largest landmasses in the universe, however, were the southern and northern continents. These regions were primarily inhabited by Matoran of various elements, including the 6 primary ones: fire, water, ice, stone, earth, and air. But these regions were also home to rarer Matoran types, such as those aligned with sonics, gravity, plasma, magnetism, plants, lightning, iron, and psionics. Tragically, during this time after the Great Cataclysm, many Matoran with powers deemed a threat to the Makuta, especially those of magnetism and iron, were systematically hunted and nearly wiped out. Zakas, one of the most intriguing islands in the Matoran universe, was home to the Skakdi, a species that was once peaceful. However, tens of thousands of years ago, Makuta Spira conducted experiments on them, fundamentally altering their nature. These experiments intensified their aggression and granted them powerful elemental abilities. To mitigate the constant infighting among the Skakdi, the Makuta modified their powers so that their elemental abilities would only function when they were near another Skakdi. Despite this change, their violent tendencies remained unchecked. The Skakdi eventually rebelled, overthrowing the Visorak sent to control them. Their destructive behavior and defiance threatened to expose the Brotherhood of Makuta's sinister plans before the Great Cataclysm could be enacted. To avoid suspicion, the Brotherhood blamed Spira for the chaos, banishing him as a scapegoat. In response to the escalating danger posed by the Skakdi, Zakas was quarantined, isolating the island from the rest of the Matoran universe. Despite their island's quarantine, some escaped Zakaz to join the Dark Hunters, becoming mercenaries and villains. And spoilers, members of this fearsome species serve as the primary antagonists in our video today. The war between the Makuta and the Dark Hunters, a brutal, unrelenting conflict, gave rise to some of the most cunning and battle-hardened villains in the Bionicle universe. Chief among them was Zaktan, a calculating and ruthless Dark Hunter who thrived in the chaos. A Skakdi of unique cunning and ambition, Zaktan dared to challenge the ultimate authority of the Dark Hunters, the Shadowed One, by plotting to overthrow him and seize control of the organization. The Shadowed One, however, uncovered Zaktan's betrayal. As punishment, he unleashed his devastating laser vision on Zaktan, intending to obliterate him utterly. Yet something unexpected occurred. Instead of being destroyed, Zaktan's body disintegrated into a swarm of countless protodytes, microscopic creatures with shared consciousness. Rather than meeting his end, Zaktan emerged with a newfound, terrifying ability. As a swarm of protodytes, he could now flow through the tiniest cracks, evade most physical attacks, and overwhelm enemies in an unpredictable and nightmarish manner. During one of the Dark Hunter's sieges on a Makuta fortress, Zaktan stumbled upon the Brotherhood's hidden archives. These records revealed startling truths about the Great Cataclysm, the sprawling nature of the Matoran universe, and Teridax's shadowy, ultimate plan for dominance. This discovery was a turning point for Zaktan. He realized the war between the Dark Hunters and the Makuta was merely a distraction in the grander schemes of the Brotherhood. 300 years later, word spread of Makuta Teridax's defeat at the hands of Takanuva. Zaktan, remembering the dark secrets he had unearthed in the Makuta's archives, saw an opportunity to carve out power on his own terms. He gathered 5 like-minded Skakti mercenaries, each possessing formidable powers, to form his team. Hakan, a treacherous brute fueled by ambition and sheer force, wielded devastating heat vision and the power to cause violent explosions through his mental energy. Thok, a manipulative schemer, thrived on sowing discord and exploiting conflicts. His ice vision and ability to animate inanimate objects gave him a sinister edge in psychological warfare. Avak, a sadistic trapmaker with an unparalleled mind for engineering, could conjure prisons perfectly tailored to trap his enemies, alongside his precision with seismic impact weapons. Ridak, a relentless berserker who became stronger with every defeat, possessed vision that could pierce darkness and the strength to tear through any obstacle. Vezok, a tactical genius with a simmering rage that made him dangerously unpredictable, wielded the ability to absorb and replicate his enemy's powers, making him a lethal opponent in any battle. Together, these 6 formed the Piraka, a rogue band of villains united by greed and ambition, but fractured by mutual distrust. Their powers made them feared, and their internal strife made them dangerous even to each other. Seeking power and riches, the Piraka set their sights on Makuta Teridax's lair beneath the ruins of Mata Nui. With Teridax seemingly dead, they planned to loot his treasures and claim whatever weapons or artifacts he had left behind. Inside the lair, they found an arsenal of deadly tools and ancient relics, including the mysterious Spear of Fusion, a weapon capable of merging or splitting beings at their very essence. Hakan, in his recklessness, fired the Spear of Fusion at Vezok, splitting him into 2 beings. The first was the diminished and enraged Vezok, robbed of his former composure but left with his calculating mind. The second was Vezon, an unstable and deranged figure who immediately claimed the Spear of Fusion as his own and disappeared. But the treasures of Makuta's lair did not end with weapons. In a shadowed corner, they discovered a vat containing antidermis, a strange green gaseous substance pulsating with life. Though they could not fully comprehend its nature, Zaktan realized its potential. Believing it to be a source of immense power, they took the antidermis with them. Amid the chaos of their raid, a strange thought struck the minds of the Piraka simultaneously. A whisper of the Konohi Ignika, the Mask of Life. The allure of such power was irresistible. The Piraka, now equipped with stolen artifacts and the mysterious antidermis, abandoned Makuta's lair and set off for Voya Nui. To fully understand the events that will unfold on Voya Nui, we must first detail the island's dark history and the unique circumstances that shaped its present. When the Great Cataclysm occurred, it ripped the island from its original position. Voya Nui became a geographical anomaly, an exposed landmass beneath the open sky, much like the island of Mata Nui, very different to the vast underground network of giant caves that made up most of the Matoran universe. Its isolation turned it into a harsh and unforgiving environment, forcing its inhabitants to adapt and endure. The Matoran who lived on Voya Nui were no ordinary villagers. These were the exiles of Karzahni, a mad ruler we'll be meeting later on in the Bionicle story. These Matoran were mutilated by Karzahni and sent to Voya Nui with crude weapons to compensate for their diminished forms. These Matoran bore physical deformities and emotional scars, but also resilience and powers that allowed them to survive in their harsh new home. By the time the Piraka arrived, the Matoran of Voya Nui were eking out a fragile existence. Their society, already strained by the island's barren environment, had grown insular and wary. This made them particularly vulnerable to the Piraka's scheme. Presenting themselves as Toa, they claimed to be the heroes sent to save Voya Nui from danger. For the Matoran, who had not seen true Toa for tens of thousands of years, this deception was convincing, at least at first. The Piraka constructed an immense fortress as the base of their operations, a symbol of their ambition and a stronghold for their schemes. Deep within the labyrinthine walls, Zaktan set up his personal sanctum, a place shrouded in secrecy and unease. It was here that he brought the strange substance he had discovered in the Makuta's lair on the island of Mata Nui, The antidermis seemed alive, exuding an aura of power and danger. The other Piraka found themselves unable to approach it. Its mere presence caused them searing physical pain and filled them with dread. Yet, Zaktan was immune, his prototype form seemingly impervious to its effects. He alone could interact with it freely, and over time he began to speak to the substance. What began as whispers of curiosity soon turned into full-fledged conversations. To Zaktan's shock and growing fascination, the antidermis seemed to respond, not with words, but through a profound psychic connection that planted ideas in his mind. The Piraka instructed the villagers to start mining the large volcano at the heart of Voya Nui, intent on finding the mask of life that lay beneath it. But the Piraka could not suppress their true natures for long. Their cruelty and blatant disregard for the Matoran's well-being began to sow seeds of doubt among the islanders. The Piraka, ever cunning and deceitful, devised an elaborate ruse to establish themselves as heroes in the eyes of the Matoran. Using their powers and technological prowess, they constructed a grand illusion, a towering, fearsome monster made of fire and earth, seemingly a living embodiment of chaos and destruction. The Piraka, timing their intervention perfectly, arrived to confront the creature, positioning themselves as saviors. In a staged battle filled with dramatic displays of elemental power, they defeated the monster. The Matoran, unaware of the deception, were awestruck. They celebrated the Piraka as heroes, showering them with praise and gratitude for their supposed bravery. But a group of 6 brave Matoran, Garan, Bolta, Dalu, Kazi, Piruk, and Velika, were unconvinced and grew increasingly suspicious of the so-called Toa, and decided to investigate. Their worst fears were soon confirmed when they discovered the Piraka's Zama launchers and overheard the Piraka talking about their history as Dark Hunters. United by their shared resilience and resourcefulness, they began a covert resistance movement, determined to uncover the truth. Meanwhile, Zaktan was once again struck with dark inspiration from the antidermis vat. The vat instructed him to create Zamaspheres filled with antidermis. Using these Zamaspheres, the Piraka enslaved the majority of the Matoran population. This mysterious green substance, pulsating with dark energy, rendered its victims mindless and obedient. Under the Piraka's control, the enslaved Matoran were forced to work tirelessly, draining the lava from Mount Valmai in a desperate bid to uncover the mask of life. As the remaining Matoran resistance worked tirelessly to counter the Piraka's tyranny, a new force entered the fray. The Toa Nuva, intent on finding the mask of life and saving Mata Nui, arrived on the barren shores of Voya Nui. Their arrival would mark the beginning of a clash that would decide the fate of Voya Nui, and set the stage for a much larger struggle within the Matoran universe. Unaware of the chaos that awaited them, the Toa Nuva landed on the island's western shores. Voya Nui's terrain was hostile and unwelcoming, an island scarred by the cataclysm, its barren expanses interrupted by jagged cliffs, dense jungles, and Mount Valmai, the ever-active volcano whose constant eruptions served as a reminder of the island's instability. The Toa Nuva immediately sensed the oppressive atmosphere, unaware that the island's enslaved Matoran laboured under the iron grip of the Piraka. As the Toa advanced inland, their presence did not go unnoticed. Hakan and Redak, patrolling nearby, spotted the newcomers and launched a surprise attack. Using their powers and the island's terrain to their advantage, the Piraka ambushed the Toa with a hail of boulders. Despite their experience, the Toa Nuva found themselves struggling against these strange foes. The Piraka fought with a brutality and cunning that seemed alien, even for the Toa, and the battle quickly escalated. The Toa Nuva focused their combined might on Redak, whose resilience seemed unmatched. No matter how many blows they landed, he adapted, growing stronger and more dangerous. Meanwhile, Hakan used his mental blast to sow chaos among the Toa, momentarily incapacitating Gali. Their disorganized response allowed the rest of the Piraka to arrive on the scene, joining their comrades and tipping the scales decisively against the Toa. Hakan unleashed powerful mental assaults, while Avak's ability to create perfect, impenetrable prisons trapped Kopaka in a fiery prison. Tahu, attempting to rally his team, faced Zaktan, whose terrifying prototype swarm overwhelmed him, rendering him unconscious. Pohatu, Lewa, and Gali fought valiantly, but were ultimately outmatched by the combined strength and tactics of the Piraka. In a stunning and devastating defeat, the Toa Nuva were stripped of their Kanohi masks and elemental tools, leaving them powerless and at the mercy of their captors. Zaktan commanded that the defeated Toa Nuva be thrown into Mount Valmai, a fiery volcano, to ensure their destruction. The Toa were carried toward their doom, helpless and unconscious. However, fate intervened when Mount Valmai erupted violently, spewing lava and ash across the island. The eruption forced the Piraka to abandon their captives and flee, giving the Toa Nuva a slim chance at survival. The intense heat and chaos roused the Toa Nuva from unconsciousness. Tahu rallied his team, urging them to escape. Pohatu used his elemental powers to erect walls of stone to shield his allies from the flowing lava, while Lewa carried Gali to safety through the ash-filled air. Onua and Pohatu worked together to stabilize the terrain, creating a path for the group's escape. Kopaka, despite suffering a severe burn to his leg, used his frost powers to hold back the encroaching lava long enough for the Toa to reach the jungle. As the Toa Nuva fled the erupting volcano, they were followed by the Matoran resistance. The Matoran, hardened by their guerrilla war against the Piraka, mistook the Toa Nuva for new enemies aligned with the Piraka. When the two groups met near the base of Mount Valmai, Garen ordered his team to attack. The Toa Nuva, still weakened and without their masks or tools, struggled to defend themselves. Dalu used her enhanced vision tools to drive Gali into a state of madness. Tahu created a wall of fire to separate the two sides, while Kopaka froze several Matoran to subdue them. But the Matoran remained relentless. The fight reached a stalemate as both sides prepared for another clash. During this time, Axon, a towering and mysterious warrior, intervened. Axon was a member of the Order of Mata Nui, a powerful yet secret force within the Bionicle universe tasked with protecting Mata Nui, often through less than noble means. When Balta became trapped in a cave by the Piraka, Axon rescued him with his mighty axe and encouraged him to return to his allies and make peace with the Toa Nuva. Just as tensions escalated yet again, Balta arrived and revealed the true identity of the Toa Nuva. Onua, as a gesture of goodwill, removed his armor and weapons, standing defenseless before the Matoran to prove their peaceful intentions. Garen, seeing the sincerity of the Toa, ordered his team to stand down, and an alliance was forged. Now united, it seemed as though the Toa and the Matoran resistance might succeed in their efforts to defeat the Piraka. The alliance had gained momentum, and the Piraka's internal conflicts were beginning to boil over. However, the Piraka had found a powerful new ally, Brutaka. A towering and formidable figure, he was once a staunch protector of the Mask of Life. For millennia, Brutaka and Axon had stood vigil over Voya Nui, safeguarding the Ignika from those who would misuse its power. But after the Great Cataclysm, Brutaka's faith in Mata Nui faltered. Believing the Great Spirit had abandoned his creation, Brutaka grew embittered and unhinged over 1,000 years, gradually descending into madness. When the Piraka arrived on Voya Nui, Zaktan's ambitions caught Brutaka's attention. Seeking power and a sense of purpose in his disillusionment, he confronted Zaktan in the stronghold. Zaktan, always wary of threats to his leadership, fired a Zamasphere filled with antidermis at the Titan. But instead of subduing Brutaka, the sphere amplified his strength and ferocity. Now emboldened and seeking more antidermis, Brutaka struck a tenuous alliance with the Piraka, though his motivations remained shrouded in mistrust and self-interest. Meanwhile though, the Piraka themselves were fracturing. Zaktan, frustrated by his team's failure to confirm the deaths of the Toa Nuva, lashed out, demanding they eliminate the Toa once and for all. His paranoia grew as he noticed Hakan's scheming nature. Hakan, always looking for an opportunity to seize power, followed Zaktan to his secret meeting with Brutaka. From the shadows, Hakan observed as Brutaka absorbed the effects of the antidermis Zamasphere. Seeing an opportunity, Hakan approached Brutaka with a proposal: help him overthrow Zaktan, and Hakan would provide him with more antidermis. Of course, neither Hakan nor Brutaka had any intention of keeping their promises. Their uneasy alliance was one of convenience, not trust. While Hakan and Brutaka plotted, Avak and Thok were investigating an area known as the Greenbelt. They realized the fertile land, brimming with life, must conceal the mask of life, which Zaktan had deliberately redirected them away from. Furious at Zaktan's manipulation, Avak and Thok returned to the stronghold to confront him. Using his mental powers, Avak trapped Zaktan in a perfect sonic prison that unleashed a cacophony of sound whenever Zaktan attempted to escape. Sensing an opportunity to seize control, Thok proclaimed himself the new leader of the Piraka. Hakan, returning to the chaos, arrived guns blazing, assuming a coup was underway. Just then, Brutaka entered the stronghold, his presence dominating the room. Ridak also returned, assuming that Hakan was behind this madness. Proceeding to throw Hakan into Avak, this caused his concentration to falter, freeing Zaktan from his prison. Zaktan, now enraged, sought to reassert his dominance over the group. But unbeknownst to the Piraka, the Toa Nuva and the Matoran resistance had chosen this moment to mount their attack on the stronghold. The Toa retrieved their stolen Konohi masks and tools, reclaiming their full power just as chaos erupted within the stronghold. The Toa Nuva and Matoran confronted the Piraka, who were consumed by infighting. Zaktan ordered his fellow Piraka to attack the Toa Nuva, but the Piraka refused, realizing that the Toa Nuva could kill their leader for them. Zaktan pleaded desperately with Brutaka, promising to give him the secret of creating anti-dermis. With ruthless efficiency, Brutaka defeated all 6 Toa and the Matoran resistance in one swing of his sword, ending the battle almost as quickly as it began. Brutaka took the Toa Nuva captive, chaining them in the lower levels of the Piraka stronghold. There, they were forced to channel their elemental powers into a mysterious pit, weakening them further and preventing their escape. The Matoran resistance team was also captured and taken to the Chamber of Truth, where the Piraka began their interrogation. Dalu, ever resourceful and quick-witted, regained consciousness amidst the chaos, while Zaktan and the other Piraka were distracted with petty arguments and reveling in their conquest. Dalu slipped out of her bonds and quietly escaped the chamber. However, her absence did not go unnoticed for long. Hakan captured Dalu once again. He intended to use her as a bargaining chip to further his own plans, but their confrontation was interrupted when Zaktan arrived. The two Piraka exchanged heated words, Zaktan berating Hakan for his incompetence and negligence in keeping the resistance subdued. Their argument escalated into a full-blown fight, each accusing the other of plotting betrayal. In the ensuing chaos, Dalu managed to slip away once more. She returned to the resistance hideout, battered but alive. Back on Metru Nui, the Matoran Jala grew restless, as he desired to know the whereabouts of the Toa Nuva. Despite his demands, the Turaga, ever secretive, refused to reveal the full truth about the Toa Nuva's mission, warning that such knowledge could incite panic. Frustrated and resolute, Jala rallied the Matoran, calling for a citywide work stoppage until the truth was shared. The Turaga convened in private, debating how to manage the situation. Knowing the dire truth of Mata Nui's impending death, they resolved to keep the Matoran ignorant, urging them to return to their tasks. Yet Turaga Nokama, empathizing with Jala's fears, secretly met with him under the cover of darkness. She revealed that the Toa Nuva's mission to retrieve the Konohi Ignika, the Mask of Life, was fraught with danger, and they had been missing for months. Shocked but emboldened, Jala made a decision. If the Toa Nuva could not return to protect the city, he would find and aid them himself. Jala gathered a team of trusted Matoran, each with unique skills, for the perilous journey to Voya Nui. Among them was Hali, the resourceful chronicler, who had stood by the Toa during their past battles. Kongu, captain of the Guko force, renowned for his bravery in aerial combat. Nuparu, an ingenious engineer whose boxer mechs had turned the tide against the Bohrok. Hyuki, the celebrated Kolhi champion whose strength and endurance were unmatched. And Matoro, a quiet yet vital translator for the Turaga, whose wisdom often went unnoticed. As they prepared to depart, they were joined by an unexpected ally, Takanuva, the Toa of Light, eager to aid in the mission. With Takanuva leading the charge, the Matoran set out through the sea chutes, traveling to the edge of Metru Nui's dome. There, they encountered a long, shadowy tunnel leading south. a foreboding passage they had no choice but to enter. The tunnel seemed alive, swallowing light and sound in oppressive darkness. Takanuva ventured in first, his luminous form vanishing without a trace. When he did not return, Jala devised a plan. They would proceed in groups, tying themselves together to avoid becoming lost. Jala, Kongu, and Huki entered first, disappearing into the black void. The remaining three, Nuparu, Hali, and Matoro, followed, tightly bound to one another. In the stifling silence, Matoro felt a strange presence grasp his hand. Though startled, he sensed no hostility, only an urgent need for guidance. Without alerting his companions, he allowed the unseen entity to lead him forward. As they emerged from the tunnel, Matoro released his grip and turned, but the presence had vanished. He chose to keep this peculiar encounter to himself, unaware that he had just been tested by the Konohi Ignika itself. The sentient mask of life had sought a worthy bearer, and Matoro's willingness to help a stranger in his own time of need marked him as a candidate for its immense power. As the group of Matoran ventured onward, they approached a towering stone archway at the entrance to a dizzying mountain path. It was Huki who first noticed something unusual, a mask lying abandoned near the path. The mask was identified as the Konohi Suletu, a mask of telepathy likely left behind by a fallen warrior. With curiosity outweighing caution, Takanuva placed the mask over his own, hoping to glean some insight. Almost immediately, he was overwhelmed by fragments of Harley's thoughts. That night, as they stopped to rest, Jala kept watch while Takanuva scouted ahead. Matoro, plagued with his own unease, attempted to confide in Jala about his fears. However, their conversation was cut short by Takanuva's sudden return. The Toe of Light, his usual confidence shaken, revealed he had seen a Matoran standing on the other side of the archway, though how or why they were there was a mystery. Curious and apprehensive, the group moved closer to the stone archway. As they passed through one by one, they began to sense something strange, a faint, almost imperceptible hum of energy emanating from the structure. When it came time for Takanuva to cross, he was suddenly and violently repelled by an invisible force field, as if the arch itself rejected him. The Matoran was shocked but quickly realized that the barrier was selective, allowing only Matoran to pass while keeping more powerful beings like Toa locked out. Takanuva, despite his best efforts, could not breach it and reluctantly accepted that his path would now diverge from the others. With a heavy heart, Takanuva turned back, vowing to find another way to aid his friends. Jala's group of brave Matoran pressed on, traveling through unfamiliar and treacherous terrain. The path ahead grew steeper as they climbed a vast cliff, with scuttling noises echoing ominously around them. Suddenly, they encountered a frightened Matoran who beckoned them forward, leading them into a vast canyon flanked by towering walls. To their horror, they were soon surrounded by Manus Rahi, powerful crab-like beasts that once guarded Makuta Teridax's lair. These creatures served as escorts, ensuring the group reached their destination deep within the canyon. There, the group saw sights that defied reason. A volcano spewing burning ice, and dust falling upwards in a waterfall. In the distance, Harley spotted a massive twisted metal castle, jagged spires reaching into the sky. It was comparable in size to the Colosseum of Metru Nui, but its dark, grotesque design betrayed the madness of its owner. As they ventured further, the group finally came face to face with the legendary Tyrant, Karzahni, a figure once only assigned to legends of the Turaga. The Turaga's legend stated that in the earliest days of the universe, even before Mata Nui descended from the heavens, two brothers arose, each destined for greatness. They were Artaka and Karzahni. When the universe was young, a mighty artifact known as the Mask of Creation was forged, a mask that held the power to shape the very fabric of existence. Both brothers desired the mask, for with it came the power to build, to shape, and to rule. In a contest of will and strength, Artaka and Karzahni clashed for the right to claim this legendary artifact. Artaka, wise and steadfast, emerged victorious. Karzahni, defeated and bitter, was given a mask of his own, the mask of alternate futures, a reminder of what could have been. Artaka took his prize and retreated to his island, a paradise of light and beauty where he began his work. It is said that some of the most powerful objects in the universe were created there, including the Mask of Light, a symbol of hope and unity. Karzahni, however, ruled over a very different realm. His island was a land of shadow and despair, where the laws of nature twisted and faltered. Matoran who faltered in their duties or were damaged in some way were sent to Karzahni, where he was tasked with repairing them. But Karzahni was no healer. His attempts to fix the Matoran left them broken, mutilated, and scarred. Ashamed of his failures, Karzahni did not send the Matoran back to their homes. Instead, he cast many of them away to distant lands like Voya Nui, their forms warped and upgraded with weaponry. For years, Matoran were sent to Karzahni's island, and for years, none returned. The Turaga of Metru Nui grew suspicious and decreed that no more would be sent to his realm. Enraged, Karzahni sealed off his island and enslaved the Matoran who remained. He built a kingdom of torment and madness, where he ruled as a tyrant, his bitterness festering as he gazed upon the twisted forms of his subjects. Over the millennia, Karzahni faded into nothing more than a myth, a cautionary tale spoken only rarely by the Turaga of Metru Nui. But the being the Matoran now faced was very much real. Karzahni's appearance was as unsettling as the stories told by the Turaga. Twisted and monstrous, his presence radiated power and insanity. Though the Matoran recognized him from legend, Karzahni himself seemed detached from the greater world. He neither acknowledged the names Makuta nor Mata Nui, his attention focused solely on his own fractured dominion. At Karzahni's command, grotesque servants emerged from the shadows and stripped the group of their belongings. He then demanded the Matoran remove their masks, an act symbolizing their submission to his rule. Jala, defiant as ever, refused, stating that his mask once belonged to the great Toa Likan and that he would never part with it. In response, Karzahni activated his Kanohi Alisi, the mask of alternate futures. He forced Jala and the others to witness a horrifying vision of what might have happened if Jala had not sacrificed his life for Takua during their battle with the Rahkshi. The vision was overwhelming, leaving the group shaken and disoriented. At last, Jala reluctantly removed his mask, succumbing to Karzahni's dominance. Stripped of their identities, the Matoran were forced to don grotesque new masks, symbolizing their servitude. Karzahni put the Matoran to work, tending his furnaces of icy fire, intent on keeping them there forever. With the Matoran trapped by this deranged demigod, Takanuva unable to leave Metru Nui, and the Toanuva imprisoned by Brutaka and his Piraka allies, hope seemed all but extinguished. The Mask of Life, the last chance to save Mata Nui, lay beyond reach. The Great Spirit's life hung precariously in the balance, and the shadow of inevitable doom loomed over the universe. It seemed as though Mata Nui's end was near. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to follow the next thrilling chapter in the saga, the race for the Mask of Life. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.